So I'm going to go a little more quantum today, and share a little bit about this idea that I think is so fascinating about expanding time. Um, and I'm not going to there's many rabbit holes I could go down on this in terms of philosophizing and asking the question, what is time? What is memory? All of that. But instead, I'm just going to focus a little bit on how the work that I do with the nervous system can expand and deepen our sense of time and possibility, because that's really what's important and exciting for me, at least in the realm of coaching and expanding the possibility in my clients' lives, and also, well, and in my own life always, but also in like the world right now that we're living in this time where lots of sort of things are coming to a head. So maybe I'll start with this idea too, that like things coming to a head are this idea that coming to a head is something that is also a possibility. Sometimes if things are remaining sort of chronic and no sort of transformative alchemy is taking place consciously, it can kind of seem as if things come to a head and then boil down, then come to a head and boil down. That's also akin to sort of chronic inflammatory cycles in the body, if we want to relate it to health. But there's another way in which things can come to a head, and that actually can expand and be the possibility for an entire system, a body, a nervous system, or even a social system, a cultural system, a global system, to have a rebirth and a deep reset experience. So how this relates to time is a little bit, it's useful that our mind and our left brain in particular has a way to compartmentalize time. We think of the past as what's happened before, the present as what's happening now, and the future is what has yet to happen. And although in the quantum, those ideas can kind of collapse, let's start by just appreciating our ability to compartmentalize, our ability to sort of spread out and digest information in that way, so that as a very early stage in the work, we want to focus on being present, which you've probably heard a lot of in, mindfulness advice and things like that, to help you, say, if you're in a spin of anxiety, maybe you're future tripping, or maybe you're dwelling on something in a way that's ruminatory, and the way that just by being aware and awake to the present moment through the senses, in particular, organic intelligence would talk about wholesome sensory experience and experience that's pleasurable in a simple way. Like, for example, right now, how nice it feels to have the support of the chair behind my back. For example, appreciating the sense that my body knows that it's about like mid to late morning because of the quality of the light coming in through my window. Those kinds of things that help have an embodied sense of here and now, and stability. Now, what's exciting is that when we get a little bit more advanced, where our container is more stable, and there's more embodiment on board, which no shame if there isn't, because if there isn't, that's for a very specific and wise reason. And there's really delicate and gentle ways of shepherding that to kind of have a completion so that we do feel more safe in our body in the present moment. And I will, side note, I'll probably make a future video as well on how embodiment is actually like the safest experience in the long term, and in a deep, wholesome, sustainable way, even though in sort of short-term immediate situations, especially intense and traumatic ones, it is definitely a good thing that that we can disembody and create safety in that way. So when we get to this more advanced stage, where our sense of the possible wants to grow, We want to expand our sense of the possible. You know, it's important to kind of notice, like, at first, what are our tendencies? Do I tend to get more caught ruminating in the past, and I'm like not able to like really like be here now? Do I tend to try to rush ahead into the future, and that is also keeping me from like being present with my exact situation right now, like fully oriented to what is? um and both of those kind of keep us in this situation where we're actually stuck. Um and to kind of get out of that, at first there's like often like a need to kind of oscillate and move and weave between these. Like, what am I excited about? Oh, I can't do that because of blah 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 from the past that thinks that blah 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 will happen. And while I'm doing this kind of weaving, I'm also just aware of the way that it's affecting me in the present. Is my heart racing? Am I breathing? Am I hungry? And all the while there is a sense of stability that this living, breathing, amazing body moment here now is able to weave these processes and contain these processes. Eventually, there will come a moment where um, enough sort of stability and is there that these compartments, and I almost imagine it sort of like a container with compartments, like one of those like a glass Pyrex where you have like different parts with different areas where you can put different foods or liquids or whatnot. Um, there comes a point at which a particular expansive curiosity, presence, mystery allows for there to be a collapse of the compartments, so that what we're calling present, and I'm talking about just like sensory here now present, meets the memories of the past, meets the potential of the future, and the sort of liquids or things all start to swim together. This is a really nebulous time. It's a very mysterious sort of limbo time. It literally is like being in the womb again. And it does tend to be a little bit frightening for people, because it feels like there's a vulnerability similar to being in the womb. There's a feeling of, gosh, like, I don't know how to interpret the world. It's dark and like, wah, 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 wah. I don't even like language doesn't fully make sense the way it used to. My thoughts don't fit the way they used to. My emotions don't fit the way they used to. All the things, it's like you've actually outgrown your clothes, but your clothes are your ideas and emotions and perceptions and ways of perceiving reality. But this is actually quite exciting, because when we get used to these moments happening, we lose more and more our fear of the end of the world as like the end and this thing that we always have to be resisting. Because what we discover is that if we can have the courage to enter these moments, these nebulous moments, we really are having a deep reset, a deep quantum reset, almost like a karmic process. This is like when you've actually arrived at the end of a karmic cycle and you're actually ready to recycle it and completely rebirth again. And it's so systemic, and it has to be, because it's different than just targeting a symptom. It's different than just trying to fix your blood pressure or make your skin, rash go away or whatever it might be. It's like everything kind of quiets down and like is almost like this jello. And then when it's given space and leaned into with trust, it reemerges and the whole system is different. There's like a deep reset. Your heart rate might be different. Your blood pressure might be different. You might have different vision, and literal physical shifts. But in a more sort of experiential way, also, reality itself has suddenly become accessible in a different way. There's more nuance that we're able to see and notice and act upon, more complexity. There's more fluidity. Life is less rigid and less compartmentalized. And it's literally as if like portals of possibility open, where before it just seemed like there were only two choices, a third choice presents itself, or where it seemed like a particular set of traits was not possible to have all in one person or experience. Suddenly we meet someone or have a situation occur where it shows us that's not true, like it is possible. And that's showing up now on the other side of this inner alchemy that we just experienced, which shows us that we really are sort of only seeing and experiencing and perceiving reality to the degree that our nervous system perceptory mechanism is capable of. And when we literally update our perceptory mechanism, we update what shows up as possible in our life. It's really powerful, so powerful. And so then our experience of the present expands and deepens. I really love Joanna Macy's concept of deep time, where the past, present, and future are this beautiful linear continuity, and we are almost in this ocean of neuroplastic sort of capacity to touch upon anywhere in that spectrum. Our sense of the present is not just a narrow awareness of the senses of this physical moment. It's actually a full integration of the lessons of the past, whether it be our past into childhood, human history, ancestral codes, right? Life on this planet, nature, and some things even beyond that. And there is a sense of like, now that I have reached a new point of completion in my relationship with this story of the past, not just in my thinking mind, but in my felt sense and my cellular knowing of it. Now there's a whole new sort of horizon line that's open to me in terms of how I step forward into the future. It's amazing stuff. So I will finish the nerding out here and just invite you, of course, if you want to do any of this deep exploration in coaching, feel free to reach out to me at enteringstream.com, and know that this kind of thing can happen, whether or not we're talking directly about it, but happen in a felt sense way, through somatics, through image work, through mindful sensory awareness practices, also through thought and emotion practices, and exactly the way that these particular things communicate inside of you. So with that, have a beautiful rest of your day. Talk to you next time.